this combination that they picked and how great it was, and it worked perfectly.
Yeah, I felt like they concentrated a lot on dealing with the Wisp and just not with the TA at all. And it was like a 3v1 situation with that Aegis, and she just went crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the good part for them was that they picked Wisp Bristleback really early, and 3 heroes at least felt like they were, dedicated to counter the Wisp, which ended up being, fine. You killed the Wisp. He was 2, 5, and 7, but as March previously showed, they don't care about it if you're going to have a fun game. It's about winning, and TA was not being stopped.
And this is it's just MVP's recipe for success. They draft really good team-oriented lineups. They play very well as 5, and at the end of the day, I mean, Kyo just goes ham. That was one of the more unbelievable individual performances we've seen so far in this event.
Let's take a look back at some of the highlights from the game as well. We'll go back to around about 14 minutes to start things off. And Malini, take us through.
Tank enough, that's the question. Jumping straight in, they're looking for Silent. That bursts him down. Doesn't get the chance to use the mech. Fantastic.
Well, I mean, this fight was just very impressive because they managed to go in. They die immediately with TA, but they still bring it back. Wisp buybacks in this fight, comes back in, and will get a kill later on, helping the Bristleback out. It's just a slaughter really going both ways. Lina does go down here, I believe, as the Storm pursues her with the Queen of Pain's help. But it's after this that the Wisp decides to come back in and help his Bristleback again. And Queen blinks into a tree line, but she just barely dies to the last of the spirits. Camera doesn't actually show it, but that's a 700 gold payout for a Wisp. So, yeah, this is pretty much the story of the game. Just aggression. This is exactly what we expected from these two teams.
Yeah.
I feel like the way they set up so well with the front line. You had the Bristle, you had the TA, both able to take a load of damage. The Wisp was like the medic popping around between the two, and then in the rear you had the artillery. The amount of damage coming out was just ridiculous. I absolutely love that game. QO, we were jumping around down here watching it. What a game!
Well,
what a game!
Well, why don't we enjoy the QO show again?
Oh, please, yeah.
Should we do that? Because 30 minutes in, this happened.
OG was losing it.
Yeah. Well, I think Alan was losing out here. I wrote a note down on my page. It says OMG.
Yeah, this is a fight that starts, pretty standard, but then something happens where Dire tried to commit on the backline, going for the Wisp again, whereas TA just goes behind and starts hunting down the Storm Spirit at first, and then turns over and keeps chasing people in the backline. And meanwhile, in frontline for Lina, she's also getting kills. So the entire of MVP just doing a good job in this fight. And buybacks coming out from Empire, but as they keep fighting, they realize that running out of mana on Storm is not the best thing to have happen for you. As they start chasing after QO, the last man alive.
But look, there's no panic here from him. You can tell he's like, okay, I'm going to evaluate this. Are there any kills I can pick up? And he immediately thinks, well, maybe the crop.
Yeah, the fact that they don't have detection here really saves his life.
Yeah.
Like, it definitely does. And at this point, he gets the blink away. And he's so strong when he has all the refractions up. Storm uses a really aggressive jump here, which puts him in a terrible spot. He has nothing to do there. And TA just shines.
Oh, man. Oh, it's beautiful. It was beautiful.
Storm was really underfarmed, and they also didn't itemize terribly well for armor. We saw the Ghost Scepter and the Yules out on the Queen of Pain. We saw like a plate mail, but again, when you see like Fear or someone play Razor, he has mech plus Shivas plus AC.
Yeah.
I think when we measure on the desk, when we're watching the games, during the games, we've got this kind of... It's not a statistical measurement, so don't shoot me down just yet, Nahaz, please. But it's more a feel, and I felt like the QO moment was probably the loudest this desk has got during a match so far. So is that the top piece of play you've seen?
Well, we keep setting records for that, don't we, on this desk today? I mean, these matches just keep getting more and more unbelievable. And yeah, I just brought it up, just sort of staring at the numbers right now, that QO's damage output in that game, he did 26.5k damage to enemy heroes during that match. That's more than twice as much as the next closest hero. That was Razor on the Empire side. And we talked about it before that match. MVP plays so well as a team, it just frees QO up to do so many things. You have to address his hero.
Yeah. We're getting ready for the second game, but where does this leave Team Empire, Wagger?
Well, I mean, they're shook after this. MVP first taking down Newbie and now also coming in showing more strength. Empire, they're coming off a loss into this, and losing the first game as well, that can really hurt your momentum. So I hope they have something prepared in this case, bring out something new, because playing the same style, I actually think MVP are really happy to just have the full-on aggression. I think Empire can outfarm them if they manage to slow the game down.
I mean, you guys were saying that Empire picked a draft to counter MVPs, and they still lost. And QO absolutely destroyed them. That was one of the best single performances we've seen in this TI. I mean, and like Alan said, it wasn't actually just QO. The team performance was amazing. So do Empire still try and fight, or do they go and farm? Like, what do you do now as a reaction?
I think they took a drafting fall, honestly, because they started countering really hard, picking the Winter Wyvern first and into Witch Doctor, just really working in the early off, showing your supports to counter the Wisp. And then they just got kind of exposed for a Lion and Lina combination where they had so much to just burst anyone who gets frozen. Like, we didn't see anyone get cold embraced and live in this game, pretty much. I mean, we may have seen one guy live from that. But normally that can be a very tough spell to deal with, not for the MVP lineup.
Ben, what were your overall feelings for Team Empire in that last game?
I feel like it shouldn't be that difficult to handle an I.O. and Wisp. I feel like I.O. and Bristleback, if that combination were stronger, then more teams would be picking it. But at the same time, no one's really been able to counter it. And we saw the Winter Wyvern plus the Witch Doctor that's generally pretty good. Maybe they're not picking the right heroes. Again, we thought the Timbersaw would have been a really good pickup for them. But right now for Team Empire, they can probably just go fairly heavy team fight. Like, I'm thinking like Magnus, Shaker, and then some more. That might be a little bit better because it seems like Phoenix has them beat at their own game.
Do you think the reason that people aren't picking the Bristle and the I.O., because traditionally, like, you know, you have your Tiny I.O., because it's easy for Tiny to, in the relocate, to get a kill, whereas Bristle isn't really about that sort of burst. He's more about running and fighting and fighting and fighting. So do they maybe think, well, there's no point really worrying about it too much. It's strong in lane, and it's good in the team fights, but it's not like that terrifying relocate with Tiny. Sorry, Nahan.
But no, that's what I actually wanted to answer your question, because I thought like they actually had the best of both worlds in that draft. They had the Bristle and the Wisp, which is just this amazingly strong team fight presence when you're playing as 5, but they also have 3 heroes. They have the Lion and the Lina that can relocate in with the Wisp and burst somebody down, similar to how Tiny would work with his combo. Right. So I thought, in a way, you got the best of both worlds in that draft. I really think if there's a common theme emerging in a lot of these draft discussions, some of these teams are giving away a lot of information really early on in their draft. We saw that with Secret. We saw that with Empire. And I really look for Empire, a veteran team with a deep hero pool, to diversify that draft going into the next game.
Pretty much it. I think MVP also gained a lot from the fact that, I mean, it's not that teams have never played against Wisp and Bristleback as a combination before. It's just that it's not something people do usually anymore. It was really trending roughly like 5+ months ago. It was run a lot. But now teams have kind of, lost track of how to deal with that effectively, maybe not so updated on that anymore. And, of course, MVP, they have played this for a much longer time than 5 months. They've always liked this combo.
Yeah, I think that was the key thing that Alan said at the very beginning of the game. They love that combination, so they're going to know it inside out. And then, like you said, maybe somewhere along the lines of the meta, someone forgot how to counter that properly.
Yeah. Very much.
Okay, we were into the final minute before the draft. Any suggestions if you could drop into the booth right now as the coach? What would you be saying to Team Empire, because they're coming off the back of an LGD defeat in the upper bracket, which they could have won 2-0. I remember Winter sitting right next to me saying they should have won that 2-0. That was terrible. They lost that 2-1. Now they've lost a map to MVP Phoenix. What do they do now?
First thing is, I think they need Resolution to step up and be on top of his game. He was underfarmed at Storm. He wasn't in the best of matchups, but still he has to deliver. And secondly, you can't lose your safe lane to a pressure lane. We've seen that multiple times, and I.O. Bristle, one of the oldest pressure lanes, and I mean, you have to quell that with 3 heroes.
Okay, very quickly, 2-0 or 1-1?
I'll say 2-0.
I'm going to go 1-1. I think Empire comes back here.
Okay. I also believe 1-1.
I'm with Ben all the way. Ride or die.
Okay, let's get into game 2.
Game 2.
Oh.
I think they caught Perry and Flax out there a little bit. You're right.
I was relaxing.
Yeah, okay. All right, good. This is game 2. Thank you very much. MVP Phoenix on their way into the draft against Team Empire.
See, Phoenix's first pick, and they didn't ban the Bounty Hunter. I thought that was a big mistake by Empire, banning the Bounty Hunter, because you know what Phoenix is going to do. They're going to fight all the time. You're going to be skirmishing a lot, and Bounty Hunter is one of the best heroes. And you can give away probably Queen, I think, for it, only in this particular sort of situation.
And now they're in a case where Bounty Hunter and Gyrocopter are not banned, and they have one ban until the first pick of MVP. So I agree with you. I think Bounty Hunter would have been a great pick to have in last game. and would also have given
Undying.
Boom, there we go. The first pick. I mean, he's one of the most, if not the most successful hero at TI. Statistically, Bounty Hunter is doing fantastic, isn't he, Nahas?
Well, let me look at that right now.
I believe that he has a little bit more than 40 games and roughly 25-ish wins, I believe.
I think
can I just take the rest of the day off? 27 and 14, Waga.
So a little bit more than 40 games.
I actually think you two need to switch roles. It's clear to me that Wagger is much better at statistics.
I can't play TA.
I'm with you.
You don't have to. I don't play. I'm just sitting here and talking, dude. It's fun.
Hero makes me want to.
Wow.
It's like when you see a player play a hero and you think, I want to learn this hero, that is it.
Yeah, he has that kind of proficiency with plenty of heroes that makes you just want to go in and play it right away.
Yeah.
His TA, his Ember, his Lina on mid even, like they played on multiple heroes, on multiple players. I think he just performs every single time. He's one of the most solid players, actually.
When was the last time Undying actually made it through the ban phase? Like, he seems to have been banned a hell of a lot. I've hardly seen him.
He has been banned a lot. It's also been at the cost of Gyrocopter not being banned out sometimes, but sometimes also just not being prioritized in the first bans and picks.
So I'm interested to see what Empire does here, because traditionally they've run Tusk as their 4 position with the Aloha dance. Do you think this is going to be a farming Undying and support Tusk, or the other way around?
I think it should be a farming Tusk, probably. Like, Undying, I think he does his job without too much items in general, whereas Tusk, if he gets 1 item, he doesn't need plenty of items. If he just gets Blink or, Solar Crest or Desolator, any of these items, you'll be fine. And look at these picks!
Oh my goodness.
This is such an MVP pick again. They always second pick Spirit Breaker. It happens so often.
I mean, you said earlier, ride or die. Period.
Yeah,
and,
ride or die.
This is ride or die. This is fight, never stop.
These teams came to fight. They definitely did. I mean, the thing is, Empire with the Undying pick, couldn't that be used as a kind of, we don't want to fight, we're going to chuck down the Tombstone, we're going to get some decay and then back up? Would that not be a thing you could do?
Undying's all about fighting first 15, 20 minutes, just because he's so terrible after that, unless you have a good start.
How dare you?
He also,
amazing.
He does go into what you said earlier, though, Melini, which is Empire should draft a little bit better team fights and start to secure this game. Undying is amazing at team fighting in the early portion of the game, and he's very hard to go into. So for a Spirit Breaker, it could be deterring some possible charges.
But do you really want to fight often versus a Bounty Hunter?
Yeah, that's going to be the question. I mean, Undying is a good tempo controlling hero, and we've talked about Naga in that context a lot. Now, the difference, of course, Naga being much, much better as you go into the late game, but Undying has some of those same aspects that he allows you to choose where and when fights are going to occur.
We actually saw quite a bit in the qualifiers because Undying was getting picked a lot. If they didn't want to fight, they just wanted to push a tower, they'd chuck down the zone stone, zone out the enemy team, and just sort of sit behind it as a kind of fight stopper. I think
why not just have both of these heroes like we saw in the group stages a little bit, where you just drop the Tombstone, song the enemy, and let 3 summons spawn, and then take the fight.
Yeah.
It's like, welcome back, wake up, and now we're...
So a lot of the fighting carries have been banned. We see Juggernaut banned, we see Ember Spirit banned. TA is still in the pool. I would say actually Slark is still in the pool, even though...
And QO Slark is insane.
That's really good.
We saw his TA, but his Ember, his Slark, and his Phantom Assassin are the 3 that just he crushes on.
But everyone's just drafting like full fight mode. It's like if you pick AM, you're just gonna lose.
Actually, I'm a little worried about this TA. Right? I mean, does TA do this well, Waga, in these just ridiculous early game skirmishes?
Might be like a Darkseer plus Spearbreaker, and Darkseer crushes TA. I think.
I mean, there is a weakness